Hi, I'm Melissa. I am one half of Cookiecad. We are a 3D printing filming company, and a lot of people don't know we also have software. We actually started in the software, so I'll tell you a little bit of our origin story now. I was a pastry chef. I still bake, but I was doing that full time. I went to pastry school, classically trained, doing fancy cakes and cookies. And in about 2012, Nathan came home from a restaurant in the world and said, I think I want a printer. They're only like $1,000 or so and they come in 1,000 pieces. But it sounds really cool. He was in software, so he had, a 9 to 5 very busy job in the corporate world, and he liked the idea of being having a hobby. He likes tinkering and, you know, we're all the same. So he bought the printer and he was like, oh, I can make you cookie cutters on it. It'll be great. And I was like, you don't have to like convince me to buy something that you want for your hobby. Um, but then he told me that he could print me cookie cutters, and that was like a blessing in disguise, I guess. So I had this idea for a really cool cookie cutter that was intricate and it would be really annoying to cut it out by hand. So I come to him and I'm like, I need this shape. And so he's like, okay, I guess I'm learning CAD right now. I'm figuring it out, printed the worst cookie cutter you've ever seen, but it totally worked. Put it on this cake and I had a blog, another blogs. Put the cake up there and I got all these messages from other cake decorators. How'd you do that shape? How'd you cut it out? It looks so clean. Where'd you get that cutter? I was like, oh, yeah, it like literally does not exist anywhere. I would have bought one, I guess. So I made an Etsy and put the cookie cutter up there and started selling custom cookie cutters. And Nathan started getting really annoyed because I didn't learn the software to design the cookie cutters. And so, as any software designer does, you write a script. So instead of making me learn CAD, he wrote me a program so I could make the cutters myself. And then when he sold that company, he was like, what am I going to do now? I'm like, do the cookie cutter software. There's a lot of ladies that are buying 3D printers to make cookie cutters. And he's like, that can't be true. I'm like, I'm telling you, I go to Cookiecad, which is this, but all ladies instead of all men, and we nerd out about cookies. It exists, and it's amazing. So I asked all my friends, oh, are you interested in the software? It'll help you print your cookie cutters, and there was a lot of interest. Threw up the website and we started getting users. And people were using it, and we were like, okay, here, 20 people are here now. All right, 100 people are using the software. Okay, this could be something real.
The things that I'm just looking at.
And then once we had all these users, we were like, oh, we would probably also want pigment that I want. I couldn't find pretty colors. And I was like, let's just make a pink, like a pretty pink, because I couldn't find the exact shade of pink I wanted to make my cookie cutters out of. So we tried a few companies to supply filament, found one that printed really beautifully, made our custom pink color, and figured if we can't sell it, we'll use it in our print farm. I'm already selling cookie cutters, and that was the plan. And I had all these cookie cutter makers that were making cookie cutters for themselves, and then they don't really know the community, but they know us, and so they trusted us to buy filament, and that's how Cookiecad became what it is today. And so we've been designing more and more colors. We try to come up with things that we don't see anywhere else. Sparkles, color extrusions that are not still gradients that weren't the entire rainbow. ombres, which are colors that, let's say, a pink, it just shifts dark to light, a blue shifts dark to light, so it's all within color family, just keeps your printing interesting. And then once we started in PLA, we saw a need for other materials, so the Voron community was begging for some ABS. So we started with some ABS colors, and then we got really interested in combat robotics, and a bunch of our friends compete in battle bots, and they don't have pretty new colors. So we recently added TPU to the lineup, and this is where Magic comes in. Magic really nice. Sure. So we commissioned him to build some really cool. So this is a Voron Z0.2, and it's made out of Cookiecad ABS, dark magic, and universe. So we gave him the option of whatever colors he wanted, and he went to town printing it. The uniform is a gradient, so he had to plan out how he wanted the colors to look and what would match. So he had to, right, had to like,
Okay. Just quick, I worked with Nathan on,
can you hear me back in the phone?
can you hear? Yeah, okay. I wouldn't be very good with that thing anyway. So I worked with Nathan on like the exact gradients, because these folks know their materials really well, they are able to know like the color shift. A lot of us probably know, you print with a rainbow and you want to get that rainbow effect, but you just end up with a blah orange thing because it just didn't use enough of the filament. Even on a quick transition, you know, if you're using 50 grams for a print, it's probably not cycling through that. And the filaments are generally pretty quick. So I think it's somewhere between 150 to 220 grams will get you a full color shift all the way 360 around whatever color transition is in the material. So I really had to plan out prints for this particular project. I started with it, I was getting like super striking, you know, where I was using too much material. I filled a bed full of parts for the entire one zero. And I just ended up with like color shift every 10 millimeters or something. And it just didn't look that good. So then I had to really start to plan and pay attention to the amount of material I was using to get a good color transition and to get the much more like the ombre effect, the like slower transition from one to the other, and really plan out prints and parts. But it was great because they had the knowledge to help me with it, between distances, the length of film that you're using, or the material weight quantity, which is generally the way I do it. But I use the same concept when it came to building the depth racer as well. So the Voron 0.2 is Cookiecad ABS, and you know it's dark magic, it's unicorn, and it just so much more vibrant and fun than a lot of the stuff I get a chance to build, because so many folks, this is a male-dominated industry for the absolute certainty, and everything is like super branding, you know, berserker and just slam and hit everything with a hammer. And so I really loved the opportunity to use something lighter and more airy and fun. I even halfway built this thing with a black frame,
Oh,
and then
hoping he would mention that.
I halfway built it with a black frame. It was like the 3/4 of the frame assembly and everything was together. And then some viewers were like, I would look so much better with a white frame. And I,
Live streaming build, so.
Yeah. and I just could not get it out of my head. I'm like, damn it, you were so right. That's got to change. So we halted, got a white powder coated frame for it. I think it absolutely makes it. Yeah, so and using the material allowed me to just have fun with this whole process. And it also adds an element of deeper thought to it versus just loading up a plate of prints. You know, you load up your plate of prints, you maybe set a couple of parameters for more on spec, on strength of the components or whatever. But I can actually play with that. I can play with that when it comes to the transition material. You know, Voron spec is four parameters, 5 top and bottom layers, 40% infill. But if I do 45% infill on this gradient, I'll get a better gradient. And so I can play with that a little bit. Maybe one bed I'm using 35% or I'm using 50%. Just play around with the parameters a little bit and change how much material you're using, not necessarily for a strength, but for an aesthetic aspect. It'll affect strength, maybe increase it, maybe decrease it, but in this particular instance, it allowed me to just play a little more. Took a little trial and error to get where I wanted it to be, but I think it turned out really cool. And then I took the knowledge that I learned from that and applied it to Death Racer. So your little light duty battle robot. So as Melissa said, for this event, I wanted to get here first of all. So thank you to Cookiecad for sponsoring my trip to Smurf 2024. So if you had a chance to talk to me and I appreciate that, it's thanks to these folks. But I also wanted to build Death Racer to compete and show off a little bit and have some fun, make a fun video, which actually went live about an hour and a half ago. So youtube.com/really my first Death Racer. So I've never built one of these videos. I've wanted to for a while. If anybody is or isn't familiar with Death Racer's little battle RC tank, whole idea is like Rock'em Sock'em robots, but on RC cars. So the head on this thing can be knocked off, and it's a little kill switch underneath there. So when the head gets knocked off, you're knocked out. Last person standing is the winner. And I had never driven a Death Racer until yesterday when Sam said go. Literally, I hadn't even paired the remote control for this thing until 10 minutes ago. Sam happened to walk by my booth. I had no idea what I was doing, trying to pair it, and he did it for me. So I built this thing in 24 hours this week. And I started, filmed a video, put it together, and used all Cookiecad materials except for the head. I wanted a bland generic gray for the cat head. But everything else I was able to use their Unicorn TPU for the tracks and get that gradient effect, bringing back in the knowledge that they were able to give me to get the effect that I wanted on the tracks. So it has nice gradient going through there, but I did 2 different runs of it to get 2 different gradients, which I kind of like. I'm a fan of asymmetry in a lot of ways. I'm not a huge thing. Everything doesn't have to be symmetrical for me. So I like having this kind of wavy gradient on track, and every other one is a different gradient pattern. So that's running down kind of wiggles. But it's just fun to have material options on the market now, and I'm loving seeing all the new things coming to the market of just instead of black, not red. We can really play with this. Something that I come from the custom car world. I built custom cars, hot rod, muscle cars and such, and that's aesthetics. And so I'm trying to bring that to 3D printing as well. Like I can cable sleeve and color code to what I build and just bring it all together and make a complete package, not just an accent color, but various accent colors and different components of different colors. And manufacturers, material companies like Cookiecad are allowing us to just have more and better options for that. Printing with their materials has been excellent for me. I've never had trouble with them, aside from like a pre-release early production. Like I was the first person in the world to print with one that had an extrusion issue, which it's gonna happen. But like the day-to-day use of the materials, I think they print really well. They hold up really well. They just fun. And I really appreciate the companies are willing to do that, to not just think of this as purely industrial and it'll give us, we can make real world fun things with cool look to it too.
Thanks for coming to our club.
They don't have any questions, so. One for each of you. I was in the crowd yesterday, avoiding being run over by videos at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
With respect to your colour choices and everything, there were, I don't know if you heard them, there were people in the crowd going, ooh.
I've had
Colours.
I've had quite a few people commenting that they love the color choice and
I love how the tires came out.
yeah.
And for you, so you say you do cookie cutters. There's a lot. I see, when I started 3D printing stuff, I had a similar, or I think it's the other way around. Oh, I would like some food type things printed. What would be, as you are in the food industry and stuff with and printing, what would be your advice with respect to the contradictory food safety type thing? I know you do with cookie cutters, and if it's just restricted to that, that's fine.
So there's a lot of controversy surrounding food safety and 3D printing. We generally don't see an issue using PLA or cookie cutter, we don't find. We've looked at studies that don't see that there's any difference between that and a plastic cutting board. In terms of, or even a little safer than a plastic cutting board, because you're not actually cutting tiny cuts into it. If you're worried, you could always use it for a one-time use, throw it out. Or give it to the kids for Play-Doh or clay, or we take them to the sand all the time. There's also, Pet G that can go in the dishwasher. It's pretty much withstands that, but we find that with hot water and soap, that takes care of it. Yeah, it's still a hot one, though.
Do you have the products in the UK?
We'll be in Vector 3D in a few weeks. They're in that
Adam,
Adam, all right. Adam's gonna have our one special color that he didn't bring in this time, let him know, and he'll maybe listen. I think we set him up with our most popular ones to start, and then he's gonna have PLA, ABS, and CPU, a little bit of everything. Mostly PLA because that's where we started and that's where most people are at the time, at the point, but
It is on the boat right now, on its way to that, so.
it's really coming here somewhere in the ocean. It's not like, oh, it's happening high in the sky, no, it's real.
Yeah, so thank you very much. One more thing, the Cookiecad V0, the 0.2 here, we are giving it away today. I donated this to the Sanjay Mortimer Foundation, so if you want to win this machine, you can go get a raffle ticket from the folks in the foundation and have a chance to win this and take it home to yourself.
Full of Cookiecad if you win it. How about that?
Thank you, guys.
If you want to see these up close, they're going to be out here.
Yep, on my table. Thank you, folks.